Is already looking terrible. You know it's not looking terrible? Pressing the like button and subscribing right now. What does Kazahana have to say about this? Is there any way to indicate what revenue they already have? I'm actually not sure. I thought it was already on the same track as Wuthering Waves, but we'll see.
Has been out for just over 2 days now.
Okay.
And it's been a kind of funny ride. So Zenless Zone Zero
okay, well, restart. Erase time.
And it's been a kind of funny ride, I'll be honest. If you've seen some of my previous videos, you've probably seen me talk about the Chinese review on Zenless Zone Zero and how it wasn't accepted that greatly. And I definitely thought over in NA and EU that would be a lot different, but it seems like a lot of the players are sharing the same sentiment. With also a lot of creators being kind of mixed on their feelings on Zenless Zone Zero and also mixed on their feelings whenever they compare it to other gacha games. Now,
the creator experience that I'm seeing is a lot of creators started the game and were talking about how bad it was, and then a lot of them have changed their mind. And I'm not going to call them hypocrites. I don't think changing your mind is hypocrites. I think a hypocrite, for its proper definition, is usually a person in the process of change. But I know a lot of people have come around to Zenless Zone Zero. My expectations are not really being impressed at all. My opinion is still around the same. I would still give it a 6.5 out of 10. But a lot of people who hated this game now like it. However, that might also be because this game was met with such intense hatred, and a lot of streamers' opinions are heavily influenced by their chat, which is very normal. And I think a lot of the hate watchers, rather than bitching in chats, have now just completely left. And now I think, due to the absence of people screaming, shitting, and crying in their chat, I feel like they're more open to liking the game. Because I'll be real, it was very hard to like the game when people would go live and just get screamed, the game's fucking terrible! And you can think the game's fucking terrible. That's absolutely fine, but I'm just saying the way that affects streamers' mentality, either the YouTube comments or affecting their Twitch. And by the way, once again, appreciate you guys. Let's keep on going to the video. This has been a very heated topic in Zenless Zone Zero. And once again, you have to acknowledge, I could have 100% been all aboard the gravy train and said Zenless Zone Zero is garbage. And I know some of y'all might not agree, but I do try to keep it very fair. But everybody's entitled to not liking the game. But it does make me happy that people aren't stuck in their ways. And even though they said one thing, they're okay with being open to the game getting better. Not that I give a fuck about Zenless Zone Zero, but I think we've matured a lot as a community because a lot of people pick one stance and then never fucking change. But when new information is presented, when new experience is presented, I think it's absolutely fine to pivot your stance. Absolutely. But before we continue, today's video is sponsored by Snowbreak Containment Zone. Have you ever dreamed of saving the world from a dystopian future? What about doing it while being a badass sci-fi waifu? Well, strap into this RPG third-person shooter and join the squad of heroines in Snowbreak Containment Zone. Customize your team with unique characters, upgrade your futuristic firearms, and blast through waves of enemies in style. You can choose to do it all alone or raid through the wasteland in co-op. Play Snowbreak Containment Zone today and save the future one waifu at a time. And why don't we play a little bit of a trailer to whet y'all's appetite? That's a big-ass woman! Yeah, I like that! Yeah! Get her! A shotgun from that distance is crazy. 3,000! Damn, bro! Hey! I ain't gonna play it handheld. I'm gonna play that shit on PC, to be honest. Feel free to try it out on any platform you desire. And thank you, Snowbreak Containment Zone, for sponsoring today's video.
See, these aren't arguments or anything. These are just people, you know, explaining their opinions on the game. And I just want to say, personally, I don't mind Zenless Zone Zero. It's fine, but I definitely don't think it's one of the best games out there. There is definitely a lot they could improve on.
I agree. I think the game is fine.
But also, there is quite a lot they could improve in Wuthering Waves. But in this video, we're going to be talking about whether Zenless Zone Zero has succeeded or failed in its...
I think it has succeeded on every front. Let's just double check real quick. It obviously isn't the new big Hoyoverse game, but nobody, at least anybody who knows anything about trends, the way the Gachasphere works, the people who are sound of mind weren't expecting it to be. It was always going to be the smallest gacha game that Hoyoverse has ever released, but I'm actually curious to see how small is it in comparison to today's date. Let's just check it real quick. Past 90 days. How's it doing? I'll admit, for right now, man, it's still keeping its head above water, but it is going down every single day. It was about 70% the success rate at Wuthering Waves, and it is still dropping off pretty hard. But for right now, it'll probably drop below Genshin in the next week. Yeah, it'll probably go around to being a little bit lower than Honkai Star Rail and Wuthering Waves. But I'm also very proud of Wuthering Waves for doing as good as it's doing, for being the only off-brand gacha game out there that's not the Hoyoverse Monopoly. But yeah, I think it's doing fine.
First couple days of being a gacha game, and we're going to be looking at stuff like analytics and
great.
also the revenue. So before I get to this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy it, and also go over to GameStop and use my code Kaza, where you can get a ton of cups, tubs, and even more.
I also fucking love GamerSubs. We also have our own code called Code Baldy. That's BALDY. But if you want to use code Kaza, you can. But if you also want to support me, code Baldy. 10% off GamerSubs. It's really good. I recommend the flavors Lean, Copium, Shy Lily's Blowhole Blast. They're so fucking good.
In my last video, I actually released a new anime channel, so if you want to go subscribe to that, that will be down below as well. I just uploaded my first video. It's done pretty good, and yeah, I just have a fun time making those videos as well.
Oh yeah.
But let's get back into the video. So the first place we're going to be looking at is Google Trends. Now, obviously, Google Trends has been quite an important part whenever it comes to, you know, recognizing how well a gacha game is.
Bro, why you gotta do Tower of Fantasy that dirty, bro? It's crazy that you even put that shit on the list. That's nuts.
And this
I feel bad for bro.
Now, as you can see here, Wuthering Waves is in blue, Zenless Zero is in red, Genshin Impact in yellow, Honkai Star in green.
We already went over this.
Tower of Fantasy, just because, you know, this was one. Whereas
we'll skip. I already broke this down. We'll keep going.
Zenless Zero, he played it for a bit, and then he just started, you know, talking about how much he hated the game, which obviously isn't a very good look for Zenless Zero.
Once again, I really don't like when people have the mindset of because one creator doesn't like it, it means it's bad. I feel like Zenless Zone Zero just attacked a niche. And once again, yeah, Asmon really didn't like Zenless Zone Zero, and that's okay. I'm like okay about Zenless, but the other thing is I'm bored. It's good to pass the time, and there's not really anything else out there, and I've already beaten all the other games, right? So we'll go back on the update patch, but it's another game to add to the old content slop. But that being said, Asmon also did say he'd be open to playing it more in the future. But yeah, he's also, you know, he's also farming.
This also surprised me a ton, as Hoyoverse has like actually really tried with the advertising for Zenless Zero. They've brought out so many trailers,
advertised so much,
so many different things to advertise the game, but it still hasn't reached the heights of Wuthering Waves yet. And even going back to the creator thing, they actually like sponsored a ton of like creators that don't really play gacha games, but are still massive on Twitch and YouTube to play Zenless Zero and give it that boost. But it just seems like that wasn't enough to save it. So we'll just have to wait and see in the next couple days and over the week to see if Zenless Zero will pick up again and will reach this peak which Wuthering Waves reached. But honestly, I just don't really see that happening. It's gone down, and I think it's going to keep getting lower and lower and lower. And who knows, maybe it'll be underneath Wuthering Waves, maybe it'll be above, maybe
it'll be below Honkai Star Rail and Wuthering Waves. But for the people who enjoy it, I do think it's not going to end a service, right? But yeah, it will be the most casual playing of all games, which they did intend that they want people to leave and come back. But yeah, it will not be as good as Wuthering Waves or Honkai Star Rail. And it is a shame because I do think Wuthering Waves is the best gacha game ever created. But due to the fact that it doesn't have Hoyoverse's marketing, it will also be around the same relevancy as Honkai Star Rail, even though I do believe it is better than Genshin Impact. But that, once again, that could just be my opinion. Well, that is my opinion, and that's most likely not the general public perception. But I do think if you were to get a player today and get them to play Genshin Impact and get them to play Wuthering Waves, I do think the majority would choose to stick around Wuthering Waves. However, marketing is marketing, and that's why Hershey's has dominated the chocolate space, even though, shout out to Mr. Beast, I do think Feastables is better.
It's got a little bit more like longevity, so the game, although it didn't have an explosive start, will stay pretty good all around and stay on top. But who knows, really? It's really hard to tell, but so far it is really not looking good for Zenless Zero. Now we've also got this article too.
Oh, that's cap. It's fine. It's fine. The game doesn't need to be as successful as the other three games. It just doesn't. Right? Tower of Fantasy is like 1/40th the success of Genshin Impact, and it's still fine. Plus, Zenless Zone Zero should be the cheapest to make out of all of them because it's not open world, it's instance world, and the majority of the overworld is just going into TVs, which is way less production cost. So it's completely fine. It really is. People need to understand just because the gacha isn't in the top 10 gacha for revenue, it doesn't make it a failure. It all depends on what it does for the company, which does promote Hoyoverse's business model, which is creating a whole world of different games to absorb people into the Hoyoverse, as well as makes money far more if you put in $5 and you get $1 million back, that's great. If you put in $5 and you get $20 back, that's still a success. You're getting more than what you're putting in. And as long as you're getting more than what you're putting in and that covers business costs, it is a success. But a lot of people think, oh, well, it's not making $1 million billion, so it's a failure. I'm not saying that's what he's saying. However,
be hard to tell, but so far it is really not looking good for Zenless Zone Zero.
It is absolutely looking fine for Zenless Zone Zero. It is. I just want to make that very clear. It is. Like, mathematically, let me know how I'm wrong. But yeah, it's fine.
Now, we've also got this article too from Game World Observer. I don't really know who they are, but it seems like they are some kind of gaming news site. And it says Zenless Zone Zero generates $3.7 million on mobile launch in 24 hours. How it compares to launches of Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail. Obviously, this is an extremely useful article to let us know how well Wuthering Waves is doing. And you can see
I believe that's very similar to the money that Wuthering Waves made, but I'm not sure.
it's done $3.69 million, which is just amazing. It says China was the #1 country by revenue, accounting for 57.6% of the total, which was to be expected as Hoyoverse is a massive game in China. And then the top 5 regions also include Japan with 19.7%, the US with 11%, Hong Kong with 2.5%, and Taiwan with 1.8%. So again, the game has gone global like Hoyoverse likes to do with a lot of their games. I mean, it's pretty big in the US too. 11% is still a lot. Same with Japan, Hong Kong, Taiwan. But what's quite surprising here is that Zenless Zone Zero had over 47.5 million pre-registers, which
now
we
50.
already knew. But this tells us that only 5.9 million people have downloaded
that was insane
it
to
on
me.
iOS or Android. Now, you could make the point that maybe a ton of people downloaded it on PC, but again, it's still really, really low compared to the amount of pre-registration.
No, so I think it's because generally the Hoyoverse is very young and very fickle, and they probably bought into the hype and just downloaded it just because it was Hoyoverse, but they realized they didn't give a fuck, right? And they're like, fuck it, don't care. Also, nice ass.
So maybe people just got bored.
Dude, the police officer's ass is so insane.
Or people just weren't interested after they pre-registered. Or maybe there is the potential that Hoyoverse may have botted a lot of their pre-registration numbers to make it look like the game was actually hyped. But hey.
I mean, that's very much a reality, for sure. But there's no confirmation and we'll never be able to prove that. But I think speculation is fine.
We'll never know how much less downloads we got after that many pre-registrations. It says that the US leads in installs with 879,000, almost 15% of the total, followed by China with 13%, which is kind of insane to be honest. It means that a lot of people in the US have Zenless Zone Zero installed, and that it's actually much bigger over in the West. But the fact is that China is spending more money on the game because that's what the overall Chinese do. There is a lot of whales in that community.
Of course. Yeah, spending culture between Western and Eastern cultures is so fucking different. Western fucking hates pay to win. Eastern is like, oh, thank God. I can play less so I can work more. Fucking awesome. But I think that's because traditions are much more strict over in the East, and business minding and being career focused is a lot more promoted. So people are looking for any chance to game, and if they can spend a couple dollars to stay relevant in their favorite games, I think that's fine.
Seems like although a lot of people in the US are downloading the game, they're probably spending a lot less money on it. But again, that's also pretty good for Zenless Zone Zero just being a very global game. And then finally, we have the comparison between the Hoyoverse games, with Zenless Zone Zero actually coming out on top of both of these games. Genshin Impact only making 1.1 million and Honkai Star Rail only making 1.1 million as well. Whereas Zenless Zone Zero, as we said, made 3.6 million, which is
I don't know if that's real.
And it's kind of surprising to see, especially after looking at that Google Trends thing. You'd expect there to be a lot more money coming in for Genshin Impact.
I don't know about all that.
Much bigger release. But I think a lot of people have gotten used to Hoyoverse now, and Hoyoverse has been around for a while. So people are spending more money on the game because, you know, they've done a lot of good advertising. And I think that's mainly what it is. A lot of the advertising for the characters is much more prevalent. So people are spending to pull a character on the banner. Compared to Genshin Impact and Honkai Star, which maybe didn't have as much. And so that means people spent less. Obviously, this is only the first 24 hours. So this might go down and the Genshin Impact and Honkai Star revenue might have went up. And yeah, we're just gonna have to wait and see how it does long term. Yeah, overall, it's not looking great for Zenless Zone Zero in terms of popularity. In terms of revenue, they're doing pretty good at the moment. I'll give them.
Yeah, that seems good if that's true. I do think it is going to be fine to judge their revenue at the end of July. And I think they'll for sure be in the top 5 of gacha games. I know Dokkan Battle's having a crazy event, but I don't think it's going to set any records whatsoever. And I do think the revenue is going to fall off tremendously because the 1.1 units look fucking terrible. And I'm also pretty sure they might be giving one of those for free, but I'm not entirely sure on that. But the next upcoming banner units look really fucking mid.
That over 3 million is actually insane. I just can't wait to see what's going to happen in the future. Yeah, just let me know down in the comments whether you think Zenless Zone Zero is going to succeed over time. Or do you think it's going to crash down and, you know, maybe be at the level of Tower Fantasy, which has been very, very, very low in the search terms recently? That's about all I—
Nah, it'll always be more relevant than Tower of Fantasy, because Tower of Fantasy has the curse of being a fucking MMO and a gacha, which is just so fucking niche. And like MMOs always fucking die off on mobile devices, bro. Like, that being said, they're still making a fuck ton of money, but yeah, I don't think there's been a single successful, truly overwhelmingly successful anime MMORPG in a very long time. At least anything that broke the WoW or Final Fantasy 14 barrier. But yeah, it just, MMOs on fucking mobile games or on mobile phones just fucking suck. Like, I don't want to have my partners just lose because their internet service just fucking falls out. Fuck that. That being said, Tower Fantasy still is keeping their head above water and making a lot of money, so it is still fine.
What I got for this video. As I said, if you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And also go over to GamerSubs and use my code Keza. As I said, it's down in the link below.
Dude, good plug.
10%
Code
off
Baldy.
any cups, tubs, and so much more. Yeah, I'll see you
Good plug.
in the next one. That's all.
Great video. I fucking love this dude's channel. Makes very, very, very good videos. Go support Kazehana. Great video, good insight. Always very fun to talk about the success or the lack of success for gacha games. But yeah, good fucking video. Like the video, boys. See you on the next one. Peace.